All right, let's talk about running faster. Who doesn't want to be a little bit faster, right?
Yeah, everyone's looking for that edge.
Exactly. And we're going to get into it today. This is going to be a deep dive all about running faster.
Awesome.
And we're looking at this YouTube video. It's from the channel Outperform.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those guys.
Yeah, and they have this video, top 5 tips to run faster. And it's pretty cool.
Cool.
They've got these coaches in it. They're working with real athletes, demonstrating all these techniques and stuff.
That's always helpful to see it in action.
It is, yeah. And I got to say, going into it, I thought I knew a thing or two about running,
Right.
Been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
But there were some things in here that really surprised me. Like, did you know that a lot of us are actually running wrong?
Oh, yeah. For sure. There are a lot of common misconceptions out there.
Yeah, like the way we think we should be pushing off the ground, turns out that's totally backwards.
Yeah. It's all about biomechanics.
And get this, gymnasts, who are like the epitome of athleticism,
Amazing athlete.
they actually have a disadvantage when it comes to running form.
Really? I wouldn't have guessed that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to break all that down and more in this deep dive. Let's jump into tip number 1, which is all about foot placement.
Okay, so like where your foot hits the ground.
Yep. The video really stressed how important this is for speed, and I never really thought about it before.
It's one of those things you don't realize how important it is until someone points it out.
Right. So to run faster, we've got to minimize the amount of time our feet are on the ground. Makes sense, right? Less contact, more air time, faster speed.
The less time you're on the ground, the more you're flying.
Exactly. So how do we do that? Well, they say the key is to push off from the front foot.
Not the back.
No, front foot.
Interesting. So like almost like you're springing off it.
Exactly. And that's what threw me. I always thought you pushed off the back foot, for more power.
Yeah, it seems intuitive, right? Like you're pushing off the ground.
Yeah. But the video explained that pushing off the back foot actually creates a lot of vertical force.
Which is going up, not forward.
Yeah, it's basically wasted energy.
Fighting against gravity instead of using it.
Exactly. And that's where pushing off the front foot comes in.
So how does that work exactly?
So instead of pushing straight down, you're kind of leveraging the ground to propel yourself forward. They use this great visual in the video. It's like a crescent motion.
Like a rocking motion almost.
Yeah. And they showed the athletes doing it, and it really clicked for me. You use that downward force, but it gets converted into forward momentum.
I'll have to try that out.
You should. I was trying it out while I was watching the video. You can really feel the difference. So have you ever seen anyone doing this wrong, like pushing off the back foot?
Oh, yeah, all the time. It's one of the most common mistakes people make, especially beginners.
Yeah, it's like our instinct is to push back, but for running, we've got to retrain our brains to push forward.
And that ties into the next tip, which is all about the back leg.
Ah, yes, the back leg. And this one blew my mind, I gotta say. It's all about triple extension and being patient. Patient with your back leg.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Triple extension sounds intense.
It is. It basically means extending to the ankle, the knee, and the hip all at the same time.
Wow, so you're engaging your whole leg.
Yeah, it's about maximizing power. And the video explained that a lot of runners rush this part. They bring their back leg forward too quickly.
Like they're trying to kick something behind them.
Yeah, kinda. But the key is to let that back leg hang back for a moment. They even compared it to pulling back a slingshot.
Oh, I see. So you're building up that tension.
Exactly. And the longer you hold it, the more potential energy you store up. Then boom, you release that energy into a powerful forward motion.
It's like that coiled spring effect.
Yeah. It's amazing how much power we're leaving untapped by not fully utilizing that back leg.
So it's not just about how fast your legs move, it's about how you use them.
Yeah, it's about control and timing, not just raw speed. All right, let's move on to tip number 3, staying aligned while you run.
Alignment. Interesting.
Yeah, they were really hammering this point in the video. Basically, any movement that's not directly forward is wasted energy.
So that means like rotating your torso or swinging your arms side to side?
Yep, all of that. Even just turning your head to look at something can slow you down.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. So it's really about running in a straight line as much as possible.
Exactly, and it all starts with your head. If your head's bobbing around, it throws off your whole body. They even suggested imagining that you're running on a lane line to see if you're drifting.
That's a good visualization.
It is. And it makes you realize how much we unconsciously move around while we run. It's like we're creating drag.
Yeah, like a car, the more aerodynamic, the faster it goes.
That's a great analogy. So it's about streamlining our movements and focusing that energy in one direction forward.
Makes sense.
Now, this next tip is all about hip flexors. And it really surprised me. I always thought hip flexors were more about flexibility than speed.
I thought so too.
Right. But apparently, they're crucial for a strong knee drive, which is essential for running fast.
So like bringing your knees up high.
Yep. The higher you can drive your knees, the longer your stride length, and the faster you run. They even showed this drill in the video. It was like a hurdle walk, where the athletes had to step over these hurdles.
Like a track and field event.
Yeah, but it was more about demonstrating how important hip flexor strength is. And you could see the athletes who struggled with it, their knees were barely coming up.
Yeah, I can see how weak hip flexors would limit your speed.
Exactly. And what I also noticed was that the athletes with strong hip flexors, they had this amazing posture. They were so upright and aligned.
Yeah, so it's not just about power, it's about maintaining good form as well.
Yeah, it's like everything's connected. Weak hip flexors, poor posture, shorter strides, slower speed.
Yeah.
It all adds up.
So we should be working those hip flexors.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. We sit all day long, which tightens our hip flexors. We're basically setting ourselves up for running slow.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm definitely going to be adding some hip flexor stretches and exercises to my routine.
Me too. Okay, let's get to the final tip, which is all about debunking a common running myth, running on your toes.
Oh, yeah, I used to think that was the way to go.
Me too. It
What?
seems like it would make you faster, right? Like you're lighter on your feet.
Yeah, but it doesn't, does it?
Not at all. The video explained that running on your toes actually creates a braking force, which slows you down,
Yeah.
and it throws your hips out of alignment.
So what are we supposed to do instead?
Land on the ball of your foot. It's called dorsiflexion.
Dorsiflexion, okay. That's a mouthful.
I know, right?
Okay.
But basically, it means you're allowing your foot to act like a spring or lever. You land, compress, and then spring forward.
So you're using the natural springiness of your foot to propel yourself forward.
Exactly. And it's this part that gymnasts really struggle with because they're trained to point their toes.
Which is the opposite of dorsiflex.
Yeah, so even though they're incredible athletes, that one little detail can hold them back in running.
Wow, it's amazing how much difference something so subtle can make.
It is. And that's what's so cool about this video. It's not just about running harder, it's about running smarter.
Yeah, it's about understanding those little details that can make a big difference.
Exactly. It's like we've been given this whole new toolbox for improving our speed.
So what do we do with all these tools?
Well, that's what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to take all this information and see how we can apply it to our own running and maybe even to other areas of our lives.
Sounds good. I'm ready for part 2.
Me too. We'll be right back after a quick break.
It's crazy how much we can learn from just like watching people run.
Yeah, it's like you never really think about it, you know? You just kind of go,
You just do it.
yeah. But when you break it down, like they did in this video, it's like, oh, there's so much more to it.
Yeah, like a whole science behind it.
Totally. And it made me realize how many little things I'm probably doing wrong or could be doing better.
Yeah.
Well, for starters, I'm not sure I'm always running in a straight line.
Oh, you mean alignment?
Yeah, I tend to kind of weave around a bit, especially if I'm tired.
I see. Yeah, it's easy to lose focus on that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's not helping my speed, you know, wasting energy by moving side to side.
Right, it's like taking the scenic route instead of the most direct path.
Exactly. And the video really emphasized that point staying aligned is crucial for efficiency.
So how do they suggest we do that?
Well, they talked about being mindful of your head position.
Like keeping your head level.
Yep, because if your head's bobbing around, your whole body follows, and you end up kind of zigzagging.
It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah, and it wastes energy. They said to imagine you're running on a lane line, like you're trying to stay perfectly within that line.
It's a good visualization.
Right. It forces you to pay attention to those subtle movements and make sure you're not drifting.
And I guess that's where core strength comes in too, right?
Oh, absolutely. A strong core is like the foundation for good running form.
Keeps everything stable.
Yeah, it helps you maintain that upright posture and resist those side-to-side movements.
It's funny because I used to think core work was mainly for like abs and aesthetics.
Haha, me too. But it's so much more than that.
It's functional strength, yeah.
Exactly. It's about building that internal support system
Yeah.
that allows you to move efficiently and powerfully.
And it's not just about planks and crunches either, right?
Right. There's so many different ways to engage your core.
Like what?
Well, even simple things like standing up straight or engaging your core while you walk can make a difference.
So it's about being mindful of your posture throughout the day, not just during your workout.
Yeah, exactly. It's like integrating those principles of alignment and stability into your everyday life.
Makes sense. So we've talked about alignment and core strength. What about breathing? I know that's a big part of running too.
Oh yeah, breathing is huge. And you know what? The video didn't really get into it, which I thought was kind of surprising.
Maybe they'll do a whole video on breathing techniques.
Yeah, maybe. But I know from my own experience that when I'm not breathing properly, my running suffers.
Like, how so?
Well, if I'm taking shallow breaths, I get tired way faster and my form starts to fall apart.
You get tense?
Yeah, my shoulders hunch up, my stride shortens. It's like my whole body just kind of collapses in on itself.
So deep breathing is key.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's like it opens up your chest,
Yes.
engages your core, and just allows you to move more freely.
It's like you're giving your body the oxygen it needs to perform at its best.
Exactly. And it's not just about the physical benefits either. When I'm focused on my breath, it kind of calms my mind and I feel more present in the moment.
Oh, I like that. So it's like a mindfulness practice too.
Yeah, totally. And when you're mindful of your breath, you're more likely to be mindful of your form, your pace, your surroundings. It's like everything just kind of clicks into place.
It's all connected.
It is. And I think that's what's so fascinating about running. It's not just a physical activity, it's a mental and emotional one too.
Yeah, it's a whole body experience.
Exactly. And I think that's what we're going to explore more in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to look at how these principles of running faster, the alignment, the core strength, the breath work, can be applied to other areas of our lives.
I'm really curious about that. Like, how can we use those principles to, say, be more productive at work or have better relationships?
Exactly. Because if running can teach us how to move through the world with more efficiency and grace, I think there are definitely lessons there that we can apply to other aspects of our lives.
That's a cool way to think about it. I'm ready to dive deeper.
Me too. Let's go. Okay, so we've talked about alignment, core strength, even breathing.
A lot of factors go into it.
Yeah, it's like, who knew running was so complicated?
Right. It seems so simple on the surface.
You just run, right?
But there's a lot going on under the hood.
Totally. And one thing that keeps coming up for me is this idea of like effortlessness.
Oh, interesting.
Like the video showed these elite runners and they made it look so easy, so fluid.
It's beautiful to watch.
It is. And I think that's what I'm striving for.
Yeah.
That feeling of just gliding through space.
Effortless speed.
Yeah. But how do we get there? It can't just be about perfecting our form, right? There's got to be something more to it.
I think you're onto something. It's not just about the mechanics, it's about the mindset too.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. When you're tense and stressed, your body just doesn't move as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Your muscles tighten up, your breathing gets shallow, and everything feels harder.
It's like you're fighting against yourself.
Exactly. But when you're relaxed and focused, your body can move more freely, more efficiently.
So it's like we need to find a way to like quiet the mind and let the body do its thing.
Yeah, it's almost like a meditative state.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? I mean, I'm all for meditation, but it's hard to meditate while you're running.
Right. Right. It's not about sitting on a cushion and chanting. It's about finding that inner stillness amidst the movement.
Hmm.
It's about being present in your body, feeling the rhythm of your breath, the sensation of your feet hitting the ground.
So it's like a mindfulness practice.
Exactly. It's about bringing your full attention to the act of running without judgment or distraction.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that can be applied to other areas of life too.
Absolutely.
Like when you're working on a project or having a conversation or even just doing the dishes.
It's about bringing that same level of presence and focus to whatever you're doing.
Yeah, because when you're fully present, things just seem to flow more easily.
Less resistance.
Exactly. And I think that's ultimately what leads to that feeling of effortlessness when you're not fighting against yourself, when you're aligned with your actions, both physically and mentally.
It's like that saying, be like water.
Ooh, I like that. Adaptable, fluid, going with the flow.
Exactly. And I think that's a great takeaway from this deep dive. It's not just about running faster, it's about moving through life with more ease and grace.
That's beautiful. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, literally and figuratively.
It's been a fun run.
Uh-huh, it has. And I know I'm feeling inspired to not only improve my running, but to also bring this awareness of alignment and mindfulness and effortlessness to everything I do.
I think that's the best takeaway we could ask for.
I agree. So to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration. We hope you've learned a thing or two about running faster and maybe even discovered some insights that you can apply to other areas of your life. And remember, the most important thing is to enjoy the process. So get out there, have fun, and keep moving forward.